Hey yo, it's another video, so let's go. All right, so I'm gonna start it off. If you read the title, you probably have a understanding, or I wouldn't say understanding. You probably know what's coming next, of course. So this is gonna be about vampirization. Nothing is wrong with it. It's very the actuality of it stems from hundreds, if not thousands, of years ago. One of the furthest that I know of is in the Typhonian tradition, or Draconian tradition, and that would be in Kemet or Egypt, what is called Egypt. So along its dispersion, or when everything was kind of broken up through time. And so when you see, like, that was before the times of the kings and the queens, like before the Dynastic Period. So that's actually a more ancient system of time. They say, who used to rule before the kings and queens? They say, who used to rule before the kings and queens? I know it's like a little loud because there's a truck passing through, some traffic, whatever. But I'm gonna make do so you can hear it. So who used to be here, or who used to rule before the kings and queens? That'd be the dynastic, or the dynastic period. Hold on. As I was saying, who used to rule before this dynastic period, where these kings and queens were, which would be in a human form. They said they're only, well, I say, the deities, but they say a whole bunch of gods used to rule. That means more of, they were less contained by the physical body, because the physical body wasn't as, or the physical wasn't as prevalent as it is in this time. So you will actually, upon this dispersion, upon time, in different areas, or different continents, or different countries, you will find it in India, or like the old, like the times, like they have like the monsters in dealing with Hinduism, with Shiva, Kali. Kali, she's, as you look at her, she has those skulls around her neck, and she's standing on Shiva because he lets her walk over him. So as you can see, he's in this illuminated state. That's why he's white in Hindu, because that's why we see all those skulls. Those are all the men that she's put under her. You see them on her belt and around her neck. Those skulls and those body parts are all the men that she's devoured, not killed, but when she's had sex with them, she was able to, how would you put it? She was able to be a succubus, or take their energy, or destroy them. So I have a video in years, maybe over a year ago, talking about men not ejaculating. And I think that's like the name of it's called Black Men Not Ejaculating, or some shit. So with that, you can look that up inside the library, or whatever, the video I made. You can probably find it in there somewhere. So it's probably a year prior to this one that's coming out. So, not to lose my point. So there's a lot of forms of it. You find it in, they have the author by the name of Bram Stoker, different authors that did a lot of things with vampirism. You'll find it in some animation, too, also movies, TV shows, or whatever, or TV series. You'll find it. But good time. 444. Wow, here we go. So, which for me is the number of manifestation. So but yeah, it's right on time now. So so let's go. All right. So vampirization. As you know, I'm gonna go through this, read through something a little later on to prove my point. You'll be like, oh, when I tell you what I'm going to before I get there, is before I get to the book, is actually to prep you before I read. You be like, oh, you won't be like, oh, he's reaching. Okay, yeah, I'm reaching because my ancestors gave it to me. And when I reach, it always comes to me. When it comes to me, information, you can take it, or like Bobby Hemmitt says, you can take it or let it alone. If it ain't for you, it ain't for you. So, by me bringing up vampirism, because like the Moors, they brought vampirism up into Europe too. Also, they spoke on vampirism. That's like pretty much the whole story of Dracula from Bram Stoker. When he cursed at God for him losing the love of his life, because he lost the love of his life, and when he did, he cursed at God. And as you can see, I think his name is what is his name? Anthony Hopkins was the priest in that film. And you know what the funny thing is? There's supposed to be a new Dracula coming out, I think, with Keanu Reeves in it again, because it came out in 1993. 1993, and now it's coming out in 2025. That's 28 years later. So Keanu Reeves was in the first film. So I'm not gonna I don't want to lose my spot. So, the Moors came up into Europe, they brought that information to them. They had universities they brought into Europe, as in a lot of ways of formats of thinking, a lot of ideals, and not just ponderings, but things that can be actually proven and shown to the people that came out of the caves, that wouldn't really know too much of anything. So they was teaching them how to do certain things, like talk, and how to do certain things. And they, over years and times, like maybe 400 or 500 years later, they were able to, after being taught so much by the Moors, overcome them. So, and this was already planned, for them to be the janitors, or the keepers of the information, as in books. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So there's one artist. Well, he's no longer really an artist anymore. So he's more like a CEO, or a harbinger, a harvester of souls in the music industry. So he has Rock Nation, to where he's like a management group. When you manage, and you can for example, I'm not sure, I haven't checked it, but I was like, you put his old teacher, or somebody he used to be under, was called Jaz-O, but all of a sudden, Jaz-O had some things to say about him, and the very next day he made it like, when they changed what they're talking about, or what they spoke on, a day later, or 2 days later, a word got back, say, hey, we're gonna do this to your family, or such and such, and we got access to do it, or whatever. So he was like, oh, that's not what I meant when I was saying this. But that's how they'll make you recant your statement of certain things. So family can be a deterrent. If you're in the if you're supposed to be doing the work, it can be one of the deterrents in this work. So I haven't seen any actual music or anything come out from Jaz-O at all, and I would be surprised if anything in the near future comes out, for Jaz-O as an artist. He's a rapper that had Jay-Z under his wing for years, in the mid to late 80s, early 90s, probably. They were friends. But he signed him to Rock Nation. Don't know why, but for some reason. But yeah, all these different artists that signed to Rock Nation, they come out But you gotta remember, like, certain things can't be talked about. I saw a video recently with M.I.A, and here's another form of vampirism. Nobody on the corner got swagger like us. Remember that song? I think it was called what? Paper Planes. I fly like paper, get high like planes. Yeah, that song. And they sampled it. I forgot who's actual. I think it was T.I.'s actual song. Jay-Z was on it. I believe Kanye was on it, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so they sampled that song. He's done that throughout the years. Aaliyah's "One in a Million." Luther Vandross, "Excuse Me, Miss." We've done that right after they came out. It's not like it's like time goes by and like months and years go by and he decides to sample it. He's sampling it right when it's hot to extract or extract that actual energy. 11/11 manifestation, perfect timing. We right on time. It's a lot of time left. So you guys, I've heard M.I.A recently. She's an artist that had something supposedly was coming out in 2021 or 2022. And so back to what I was saying. When you have, this is a note for anybody that's recording any videos. If you're out in the public or out in the out in the public and somebody drives by and there's music playing in the background, that can be something that can get your actual video blocked. So I always say that if anybody else is doing any type of spiritual work and your music is playing you out in the public or in a park somewhere or by a location where cars are driving by or somebody's playing music, that music get picked up in its original form. YouTube has a system to where they will block it, your actual video, because you don't have discretion to use that music. So let me get back to what I was saying. So M.I.A, she was in an interview, and I seen this recently on YouTube somewhere, and she was saying she had an album pretty much ready, and she turned it in, and it was like shelved or blocked, and they destroyed it to where the point where it's not coming out. And it was like, you supposed, like, they asked her, you come out with any music? I said, I had something coming out in 2021 or 2022, she said. And upon it, she kept saying they didn't want it to come out. It was like the two interviewers, they was like, and like almost like an antagonizing, who's late they, when people in they say with suspicion, say they to not to divulge or to say who it is, to lead into. They was like, who's they? And she was like, just they. And then one guy said, is it Jay? Like he said, is it Jay-Z? They stopped the album. She said, yeah, I have a lot of. So she spoke up on something. She said she spoke up on before the album came out. She had publications lined up with certain magazines where she was gonna be on the cover. All this, these different magazines. All those things got pulled away. And you see, it's all a system. When you start talking, things get pulled away. You start saying certain things. When you get paid by them, you can't go against what would be their interest. So one of the guys that were interviewing, he said, is it Jay-Z? And she had this look on her face, and she said, well, this day, they don't want the music, certain music that I had put together to come out. So that's another form of vampirism, to where your music can be, or blocked, your energy that you put out can be blocked. He's been a vampire of a lot of different artists. Camp Lo, Camp Lo has the producer by the name of Ski Beatz. He used Ski Beatz for like his early stuff in the Reasonable Doubt area of his career. That was Camp Lo's producer. When certain producers get, like, I wouldn't say, they're kind of greedy, they would go for the artist that's kind of bigger known, and then after they use you up, they don't want to use you no more later on down the line, really. And then you have to kind of, work your way with other different artists, because they extracted all their energy. Same thing with Beyonce and Rich Harrison with M.I.A. It's just one thing, that one thing song, and then the song the song with Beyonce used that was like her first single, like her big come out single. The same exact producer, same exact sound as M.I.A. That was her producer. You get greedy from the big name, then that producer can't really do, because it's been extracted and used on a wide scale. So that's another way of extraction, like vampirism. So Camp Lo, one of the artists, it's a two-man group. One of the artists, he would use his flow. The artist, one of the Camp Lo's artists, I can't remember the name of the artist, but he would use his one of his flow. Jay-Z would do. Also, he would vampire or use a form of vampirism against Prodigy. Certain music videos, a lot of music videos, I would say, certain things he would say would vampire those things and use them as if it was his own. Case in point, the name of the Dynasty album, like I said before, Dynastic Period. That's of course it's a name, but in '96, Prodigy had a lyric dealing with that, and then in 2000, album Jay-Z had an album called Dynasty. So so I'm just giving some examples. So let me take it closer to home for the Rockefeller thing. Before I get to this book passage I want to read out of, with Jay-Z, of course, signing Beanie Siegel brings on state property over time. Freeway, PD Crack, Young Chris, Chris and Neef, Young Gunners, Oskino and Sparks. Oskino actually had the song first, produced by the Neptunes. Give me that sweet, that nasty, that gushy stuff. That was actually Oskino's song first, and Jay-Z took that song from Oskino, from one of his artists, and that was like the whole theme. It was like a Biggie theme. When the Remy's in the system, ain't no. That was like the whole. That was like, and he had Lil Kim in the video, Lil C's in the video, as in doing something of like, they would look at it as like a tribute to Biggie, when it's really extracting energy, but you don't realize it because you in the video and oh yeah, we lit because we in the video, but your energy's being taken like he was Biggie or something. So and that was actually extracted from it was not Oskino, it was actually Emilio Sparks, because Oskino and Sparks, they were actually solo artists before they was a group. But yeah, what else? So, and also, you listen to Young Chris from the Young Guns. He actually took his rhyme style, his flow, back in like the 2001, 2002-ish area, around that time. Nobody knew or said anything. I'm like, damn. I'm like, listen, like, this is ridiculous. Like, how does he feel? I'm like, hey, what the person that's paying you sounds like. I don't know if he paid him off or what, or he just took it from him. But what else? So what I'm gonna another thing with Beanie Siegel. Okay, before I get to the passage, or what I'm gonna read out of this book, you're gonna see what I'm talking about. So Beanie Siegel, of course, came out with The Truth. In what was it, 98, if I'm not mistaken, the Truth by Beanie Siegel. So when he came out with that album, like, he was getting a lot of notoriety, a lot of buzz, and so the next album was called The Reason. Come to find out, The Reason was like an album that was kind of rushed, but it was never even finished. That's why it felt like it was all over the place. He made the album come out before its actual time or due date, before it was probably ready. When an album doesn't have any kind of direction, it goes over bad with actual fans, and it didn't. It was a looked at as a okay good album, but it wasn't like something like it wasn't his best work because it wasn't a full album that was actually put together as a full album, because it was being put together and it was forced out by you know who. So the whole thing with Beanie Siegel going to jail, for handling some business for supposedly the family, but he was the only one that looked at it as a family, because he's gonna extract from him. He's been extracted from him for years. So so to this point, people don't remember he had he came out of jail, had the album while he was in jail that was looked at as, I think it was called The Becoming. He was like in a jail cell on an album cover picture. So it really did well in the streets. Like, people really thought like that was a really good album. It doesn't really get a lot of legs when you're in jail, because you really can't do too much with any videos, but it still did well while he was in jail. So then years later, he tried to get signed to G Unit, and that thing kind of fizzled out. People forget he was on Cosmic Kev doing an interview, and he was like speaking on how bad things were over the years with Jay, how he would say he's gonna do this, and all this things were getting taken from him, or things that was promised wasn't promised. It was actually getting funneled back to Jay, and then after that happened, I'm not saying who or what happened, but if you pretty much pay attention to the events and that actualization, you would know where it came from. Beanie Siegel got shot a couple of times. I think he was coming outside of his house and got hit, or something like that happened. He said he was like somewhere where he wasn't supposed to be or something, and he got hit in a crossfire supposedly. So once he got shot, once he got shot, he was in the hospital. He had like tubes on his throat, and when he came to and woke up, the tubes that was on his throat, and he woke up in a shock. When he woke up in a shock, his vocal cords got stripped, and his voice hasn't been the same since. To me, I'm gonna just come out and say how I feel. To me, how I got the information from my ancestors, like, people in industry, like, when you sign certain things, you can come back as a clone. People say the same thing about Jamie Foxx. Once he was in the hospital, I say the same thing about Krayzie Bone from Bone Thugs-n-Harmony. I had a video speaking about how Pimp C, once he left DJ Paul from 3 6 Mafia, he left his house, and say people always smile like this old, they call him Old Buddy. Pimp C's wife married him after Pimp C died, but people forget or don't know, but Pimp C left DJ Paul's house with drinking first. Then hours later, this all happened. But people don't realize Krayzie Bone was recording with DJ Paul after the whole Versus situation happened. And once that happened, he left his house also, just like Pimp C, and he damn nearly died. But of course, once he nearly died, just like Jamie Foxx, and come back. So, hey, I look at it like a clone situation, So, but I'm gonna keep going. I have something to read. So the whole thing with Beanie Siegel, that's gonna be like one of my. This gonna be like the point I'm bringing to you of vampirism, vampirism at its finest. So I was reading this book before I got to this point. Reading a certain book before I got to this point of, and I was like, I was reading it. I'm like, and I seen a video first of you know, Beanie Siegel was like a cook now. I seen this like maybe a year or two prior. He was cooking in his kitchen. Like, oh, people like talking about he's a really good cook and a chef or whatever. So, with this being said, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, it's, you know, when I see certain things, is in my mind, or I'm like, oh, that's just okay. That's what it is. You know. Now, if you remember, he had an interview on the Breakfast Club. He had like a hat on. I'm not sure if it was called something MG or whatever, something CMG or some kind of group. And he said, yeah, it's like this company that's gonna put out an album for him that's like based out of Detroit, and nothing's ever come from it. And they're like the same thing with 50 tried to come out with Beanie Siegel, and it was blocked by Jay-Z down the line. So, and that whole situation never came about with him, and it was like this music group that was based out of Detroit, and it never came about. So now we see. Years down the line, after, we see Beanie Siegel cooking in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, he found a new way to do certain things without having to worry about rap, you know? So, and I was like reading in this book, and I was like, man, that's kind of crazy. I was reading something, and I seen something, I'm like, man, that's kind of crazy. Like, and when I read it, I was like, nah, that can't be. You know what I'm saying? I'm tripping. But in my mind, like, the answers don't give you nothing for no reason. They give it to you for a reason to either do something with it, or like Bobby Hemmitt say, take it or let it alone. You know, I was like, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm like reaching too far. But like it came to my mind. I'm like, remember that part you read, and don't forget it. Don't throw it away in your mind. Just remember it. And so it was in my mind like that, just remember. So I seen another video, and maybe about a couple days before I'm shooting this video, maybe 3 or 4 days before I'm shooting this video. And now it was very it was very shocking and telling, because like after I read this, because it's still in the back of my mind, like I said, like just recently, like I just said, it's still in my mind that you know, about what I just read. And I see Michael Vick in the video. He's actually inside he's in the truck, the food truck with Beanie Siegel and the people that's cooking, to where he can't really step too far past the line. I think it was a lady in the video. I'm not sure who it was. I don't want to say it could be this person or that person. I'm not saying like it's a known person. I'm saying like I don't know if it's like a family member of Beanie Siegel's or not. But all I would say is it was some people that were working inside the food truck. She was like, "Yo, you can't step past this line because it's like if you're not a cook or have your hands washed or whatever with a hairnet or whatever, you can't step past this yellow line." And then you know, he was in a video with Beanie Siegel. So Beanie Siegel has a hood over his head right now, and the plate I'm thinking that's going to either Michael Vick or another customer that ordered this food. He's actually he has it visually showing. It looks like it was like maybe some like chicken and broccoli or something, from what it looks like, some chicken and vegetables or something. And he opened it up and showed it to the camera and put the lid on top of it. And then what he did right after he showed the food, he lifted his hood, and he had a red Rock Nation. He had a red. Make sure it's very clear so you can hear what I'm saying. He had a red Rock Nation hat. So that's like symbolism to which it means you're down with the program. There's black. I've seen black Rock Nation hats. I've seen white Rock Nation hats. I've seen blue Rock Nation hats. I've seen a Beanie Siegel with a red Rock Nation hat on. So different people are wearing them. This is the same thing as in a course of Masons. You see people with Masons necklace on, or their vehicle has a Mason sticker on it, or a symbol on it, or whatnot. You know what the case is. So that would be the same case for that means you're down with the system or the program or in the group that you will either like to be or